Boston, 1880. 40 years before a smiling Italian immigrant fills School Street with investors, another line is forming across town. And there is something odd about it that every passerby notices immediately. There are no men in it. Not one. The women in this line, seamstresses, teachers, widows, domestic servants, are depositing their savings at a private bank that accepts only women. It pays interest no other bank on earth can match, 8% a month. Nearly 100% a year. The money, they're told, comes from a Quaker charity fund established by a dying philanthropist to quietly help women of modest means. And it must stay quiet because publicity would embarrass the donors. Men are turned away at the door. Husbands' questions are met with silence. Bankers who inquire are told correctly that it is none of their business. The woman who built it is a former fortune teller named Sarah Howe. There is no philanthropist. There is no charity fund. There is only the oldest machine in finance, old deposits paid with new ones, running in a room full of women that no male regulator, banker, or journalist can enter. Charles Ponzi didn't invent the Ponzi scheme. A woman in his own city perfected it while his parents were children. And when hers collapsed, she did something Ponzi never dared. She opened another one. Sarah Emily Howe's early life is a fog of aliases and reinventions. Even her birth year wobbles depending on the document. What the records agree on, poverty, a marriage or two, stretches in and out of asylums and courtrooms, and a trade. Sarah tells fortunes. Don't dismiss the trade. 19th century clairvoyance is a serious business built on a serious skill. Listening to people, mostly women, describe what they fear and what they hope, then selling it back to them with confidence. It is market research conducted one worried customer at a time. And through years of readings, Sarah Howe learned something the marble banks of Boston never bothered to know. Women have money. Not fortunes, but wages, inheritances, widows' pensions, egg money hidden in tins. And that money has nowhere to go. Banks condescend to women or turn them away. Husbands control what they can. A woman's savings in 1878 live in a coat lining, earning nothing. One house fire from oblivion. Millions of dollars, invisible to the financial system, held by people trained their whole lives not to ask hard questions of institutions. Sarah Howe looks at that and sees what Kruger saw in matches and Ponzi would see in postage. An ocean nobody else is fishing. In 1878, she opens the Ladies' Deposit Company in Boston. The design is flawless in its cynicism, and every element does double duty. Women only, which sounds like charity and functions as camouflage. No bank examiners, no financial journalists, no suspicious husbands allowed inside the operation. Unmarried women preferred, meaning no man with legal standing to demand answers. The secret Quaker fund, which explains the impossible interest, flatters the depositor, you have been chosen, and builds the silence in publicity, they're warned, would kill the charity. Every depositor becomes a guardian of the secret. 8% a month, and in the early days she pays it, out of the deposits themselves. The first women tell their sisters, their fellow teachers, their church pews. Deposits arrive from across New England. Some women mortgage their futures. They borrow at normal rates to deposit at Sarah's impossible ones. By 1880, the ladies' deposit holds, by the accounting of the day, roughly $500,000 from as many as 1,200 women. Adjusted for the century and a half since, comfortably tens of millions today. Sarah Howe, fortune teller, is running one of the larger private financial institutions in Boston, and almost no man in the city knows it exists. She buys a fine house. She rides in carriages. And note the pattern we now know by heart. The luxury is not leakage, it is advertising. Living proof, visible from the sidewalk, that the Quaker fund is real. What kills the Ladies' Deposit is not an auditor and not a policeman. It is a newspaper that finally takes women's money seriously enough to ask where it's going. In the autumn of 1880, the Boston Daily Advertiser begins publishing questions. Where is this Quaker fund? Who administers it? 8% a month is not charity. It is arithmetic, and the arithmetic ends one way. Other papers pile on. Ministers warn congregations, and the machine meets its one unbeatable enemy, doubt. The line outside reforms, running the other direction now. Sarah pays out withdrawals with theatrical calm, Remember, so did Ponzi, so did Kroger. Paying the early panic is always the machine's last performance. It buys weeks. Then the vault is bare, the doors close, and around 1,000 women, teachers, seamstresses, widows, learn that the philanthropist who chose them never existed. Some lose everything they saved across whole working lifetimes. Contemporary accounts describe women fainting in the street outside, and at least one suicide is attributed to the collapse. Sarah Howe is arrested, tried in 1881 and convicted. Her defense is a mirror held up to the age. The men prosecuting her, her lawyers note, run brokerages and bucket shops that ruin their customers legally every day of the week. She serves 3 years. The press coverage drips with a condescension that misses the point spectacularly. Silly women, fooled by one of their own. Almost no one writes the true story, that the financial system had abandoned half the population so completely that a fortune teller with a parlor could become their national bank. Now the detail that elevates Sarah Howe from a footnote to a prophecy. In 1884, out of prison barely a year, she opens a new establishment. The Woman's Bank. Same city, same women-only rule, same impossible interest, 7% a month this time. Even the discount is confident. And it works again. She gathers another fortune, some of it reportedly from women who lost money the first time and came back, because hope, once purchased, is hard to return. 2 years later, as the questions catch up, Sarah Howe simply picks up the cash on hand and leaves town. She surfaces and vanishes through the years that follow, a fortune-telling parlor here, a boarding house there, and dies in 1892, back in Boston, poor and unrepentant, having outlived both of her banks and served a fraction of the ruin she caused. 28 years later, a few blocks away, Charles Ponzi opens the Securities Exchange Company, promising 50% in 45 days. And the world decides the scheme needs his name. History remembers Ponzi because his machine was loud. Newspapers, crowds, $250,000 a day. Sarah built hers silent, inside a population the loud world refused to see. Same engine, same fuel, same ending. The difference is only who was watching, because that's the real law this series keeps proving. The scheme doesn't target greed first. It targets exclusion. Ponzi's immigrants, ignored by the Brahmin banks. Cassie Chadwick's small-town lenders, hungry for a seat at the big table. Sarah Howe's women, unwelcome at any table at all. Wherever the front door of finance is closed to someone, there is a side door and someone charming standing beside it. The playbook. What Sarah Howe adds to the manual. Rule 1, hunt where the banks won't look. The excluded make perfect customers, no one else wants their questions answered. Rule 2, exclusivity is bait. You have been chosen outsells, everyone welcome every time. Rule 3, make every victim a guardian of the secret. If publicity kills the deal, your marks become your security team. The paper empire ledger now stands at just under 274 million stolen. It will grow, because money was never paper. It's belief wearing paper's clothes. Next time on Paper Empire, a 20-year-old Bible class teacher in Brooklyn promises his neighbors 10%, not a year, not a month, a week. 520% a year, and half of Brooklyn lines up. And decades later, when a certain Boston scheme makes headlines, the newspapers will track down the retired 520% miller for his expert opinion on Charles Ponzi. Subscribe.